call this special meeting of the Waterford Conservation Commission to order. And we have an initial statement that we established the meeting with. This is a web-based call, so we are operating under the following procedures. This session is being audio recorded. Please be advised that today we are also recording the video of the proceedings. We will not use the chat feature in this meeting. To ensure sound quality, the default rule for this meeting is that everyone will remain on mute. Commissioners and staff will generally remain on mute except when speaking or voting. This meeting is open to the public, but is not a public hearing. Therefore, no members of the public may speak unless specifically invited to do so. If a member of the public creates an audio or video disruption, they may be manually ejected from the meeting upon recommendation of the staff or the chair. We appreciate your attendance at this meeting. Should you have any questions about this process, you may call our staff at 860-444-5813 after the meeting is ended. With that, I would like to begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for your attendance tonight. The first item on the agenda will appoint alternates. So I'd like Julie to sit for the open seat. And is Wade with us tonight? I don't see him yet.
I don't see him.
Okay, when he arrives, he can sit for the other open seat. Item number 2, approval of the August 6, 2020 meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
Second, by Dave Lurch.
Thank you. Any discussion of the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Item number 3, application review. C 2012 for 36 Butler Town Road, Woods Road Stream Crossing. Dennis Harlow, owner. And we have in our packet a review of the draft permit. Questions or comments?
Yeah.
Hearing none, a motion would be in order to approve the draft.
Mr. Chairman, I move that C20-12 be moved to final and for signature.
Okay, is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, Julie is the second.
Vereniger.
Geneva.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. I see Wade here. Wade, would you sit for one of the open seats, please? You're on mute, Wade. Thank you. Next item, under item 3, application C-20-13, 51 Shore Road, vegetation maintenance and wetland and non-encroachment area. Brian Vincenti, applicant and owner. We have in our packet a review of the draft permit. Questions or comments?
None here.
Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd move that C-20-13 draft be moved to final.
Second?
Second.
All right. Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is C-20-14, 14B Shore Road, driveway construction. David C. Mortimer, owner and applicant. Killingly Engineering Associates, the agent. Questions or comments?
Staff here, Mr. Chair. We had received revised plans and responses to staff comments today. And I believe the engineer of record is here to introduce the changes to the plan and the responses to the comments. Norm, we can bring the plans up and you can walk us through them.
Okay.
Norm?
Before we proceed, for the members of the commission and those in attendance electronically, please be advised that we'll do the best we can to use the raise hand feature of the Zoom electronics, and I'll do my best to recognize folks as we go.
Norm, you want to unmute? There you go.
Yeah, am I good?
Yeah, we'll bring the plans up and you can walk the commission through them, okay?
Okay, you want me to share the screen or are you gonna bring them up?
We're gonna bring them up,
Okay,
the revised plans.
I'll, let me know if you can't hear me. My microphone does not function very well, so I'm just going to try to speak loudly.
Okay. Hang on, give us a second.
Not a problem.
Okay, these were the plans that were submitted in response to comments from your staff as well as the fire marshal, and Norm's going to walk us through the changes that were made and the areas of impact. Thanks, Norm. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. In response to staff comments, Maureen had a total of 10 comments that she wanted us to address. And I think it's probably best that I just go through them sequentially as they were presented to us. So number one, the wetland evaluation report indicates there may be a potential 8,000 square foot impact associated with upgrading the existing paved drive. This is the paved driveway is currently the driveway that Mr. Mortimer has an easement over to access his property. As you know, the proposal before you is to construct a dedicated drive within a 20-foot strip of land that he owns that goes to his property. So one of the questions regarding the existing driveway, we had spoken about upgrading it because it is rather narrow in some spots, and we talked, it does. It was originally constructed through wetlands, and there are significant wetlands on either side of it. However, one of the issues that Maureen brought up is whether or not Mr. Mortimer actually had permission to upgrade that driveway, which he didn't. And secondly, there was also a question of whether it was an access easement, but there really is no language in that easement saying that he could run utilities up there. One of the reasons for constructing this driveway as well is because there are existing wells on the property that have very low yields, and they really won't support the residents that Mr. Mortimer is building here. So, as part of constructing the new driveway, they are going to be tying into the public water system out at Shore Road, and also bringing underground utilities from there as well. So I guess the question about whether or not they had permission to upgrade that existing driveway, the simple answer is no. And secondly, they didn't really have permission to bring utilities up there either. And that was really another aspect of this driveway constructed that's necessary to finish constructing the home. Number two, the site plan needs to identify the limits of vegetation clearing. I think if you go to sheet 2, Maureen, we've actually shown it along the existing driveway, but in this area here, along where where there's actually going to be a crossing of an intermittent little water course there. It's actually kind of a drainage that comes down through that point. We've shown the limits of clearing that with a heavy sort of tree line there. It's a kind of this. I don't know if you can see my marker on the screen here, but right next to that note that says 275 square feet of wetlands impact is where the limits of clearing are going to be. That limit is anywhere from 25 to 40 feet from the delineated wetlands in that area. Also in that area, which I will get to after, we are proposing some mitigation for the impacts that we're proposing on this project. Number 3, erosion and sedimentation control measures are required for construction of the southern part of the proposed driveway and the culvert installation. We've noted for the culvert installation, and I think for clarity purposes, it was just easier to address it as a note. I've shown staked hay bales on both sides of the driveway adjacent to the wetlands, and I also have a note on the plan that says to provide crushed stone check dams upstream and downstream of the proposed crossing area during construction to prevent any kind of silt or sediment from transporting down through that area. I think it's important to note also that there is an existing 24-inch concrete pipe there that we are just replacing in kind, and the reason why we're replacing it is because it is fractured. The top of it, you can actually see through the concrete, and you can see the reinforcing bars in it. So, and it's very narrow. So we are replacing that pipe exactly with the same size pipe that's currently there, with something newer and a little more usable for the proposed driveway. The application does not indicate the purpose for the proposed P-stone or shell 10-foot wide drive located between the existing driveway, and that's where Maureen is pointing there. That aspect of the plan has been eliminated. Originally, Mr. Mortimer was looking to abandon the existing paved driveway and to allow Mr. Sokol use of his driveway, and he was going to construct a small connector in that point. That idea has been abandoned, and so that P-stone driveway has been eliminated from the plans. Additional detail is required for the culvert crossing of the intermittent channel. The invert elevations on the plan are different than the detail. We have corrected that. The invert elevations were different by a half a foot on this plan view and in the detail. So what we've done is detailed the locations of the proposed head walls, the tops of the head wall height, the distance between them, and then we've also got some dimensions to show how that head wall would be constructed. Also on the head wall section, we're showing how the footing is going to be installed, the concrete for the head wall itself, and the steel reinforcement. Now, the reason that we are going with a head wall here is because the driveway is being widened. Currently, at that crossing point where that 24-inch concrete pipe is, it's a very, very narrow crossing point. It's about 7 to 8 feet wide. So in order to widen it to 12 feet, we are putting in the head walls to limit the actual disturbance to 20 feet, and that will eliminate grading down into that channel, which would result in probably another 16 to 18 feet of disturbance would have occurred had we not put head walls in there, because the grading, we have 3 to 4 feet of grading that would have been required, and if you go out at a 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 slope, obviously it creates a lot more disturbance than what we're proposing here. We are at this particular area, we are limiting the disturbance to only 275 square feet. We estimate that it would have been somewhere in the realm of 800 to 900 square feet without the head walls. So, yeah, in our opinion, we think it's just a much better solution. Additional detail is required for the 3,000-foot wetland mitigation area. That's that area right there that Maureen is showing you. If you go back to sheet number 1, and this is put on the plans under the recommendations of Ian Cole, the wetlands biologist who couldn't be here this evening. So what we're proposing for the peripheral areas is a New England wetland seed mix, and then the mitigation planting schedule. Interior locations adjacent to the existing wetlands. We're going to be putting in some common winterberry and some high bush blueberry. Edges away from there in the transition zone, spice bush, silky dogwood, and sweet pepper bush. And then the understory between these to do the New England wet mix. I also have some general notes for the mitigation describing how this would be accomplished. We are also going to be doing some invasive species mitigation along the edge of the channel near adjacent to the crossing. That would be on both sides. That's where Maureen is pointing out. There are some things like autumn olive there, a couple of other invasive species, bittersweet, things that are really kind of taking over. So the notes specify that particular activity is going to be by hand methods. We do not recommend or call for the use of machines to take that stuff out of there. Once again, I think note number 7 really kind of talks to that same note about the adaptive invasive species management plan. I think I included it with my last response. So that was comment number 7 by Maureen in her review. Number 8, the wetland flag numbers on the site do not correspond with the plans. What we did in the areas of the crossing, the original wetlands were delineated by Joseph Thoreau, and by the time we got involved here, and I think by the time Maureen went out there, the flags were gone. Even though they had been survey located, they weren't visible in the field. So we had Ian Cole go out there and redelineate in the areas where where the crossings would be, and they don't correspond to the original wetland flags, but Ian was actually able to find some knots from the original flags that he rehung, and he agreed substantially with the previous delineation. In fact, I believe he said that when he went out there, he thought it was pretty much spot on with what he would have delineated out there. So what you're seeing on the plans in the areas of the crossings are the flags that we actually survey located. And then for the wetland flags away from the crossings, those were wetland flags that we took from the previous survey. The plan should be stamped and signed by the engineer. I did stamp that plan. I believe these particular plans show that. I had Ian's signature on it too, that you can't see very clearly. But he also did sign the plan as well. And then finally, I think there were a couple of leftover notes from basically the canned narrative that we use, to start the projects off. And I think there were a couple of spots that mentioned another municipality that we've addressed that and made sure that all references within that narrative refer to Waterford. There was a comment by the fire marshal regarding the existing driveway not being blocked by bollards. That particular proposal once again is going away because what we were talking about was abandoning that existing driveway and making it a pedestrian path, and we were going to put bollards up there to alleviate traffic. That proposal has been eliminated, and the fire marshal didn't want the bollards there anyway. He said that it would be a good secondary access should there be some sort of an emergency where one or the other of these driveways is not accessible. And finally, up at the house, we had shown either crushed stone or crushed seashell driveway associated with the house itself. The fire marshal did not want that. That was in that particular area that Maureen is showing. The fire marshal wanted a driveway there, a paved driveway. And actually, I don't see that note on this particular plan, Maureen. I'm wondering
If I may, Norm, can you hear me? I believe that comment was associated with that 10-foot wide pathway across the previous showed right here.
That is, yes, that's correct.
And his concern was he couldn't turn a truck
right.
in
So
such a narrow area.
yeah, well, that's gone. That's not happening any longer.
I believe that's what the comment was addressing.
Okay. I believe that was it. The last item, and I believe Mr. Reagan submitted that to you, and as well as I did, regarding the deed for the property and the attorney's research regarding crossing that 10-foot wide easement. And did you receive that, Maureen?
Yes, we did. This was a question that just came up, whether or not he has a right to cross it. The deed that was provided, for the benefit of the commission, the deed that was provided indicates indeed that from 1920s and then 1940, that when the applicant purchased this property, he indeed also assumed the rights to use that right of way and to use this either by foot or vehicle, I believe it referred to in 1920.
I believe so, yes. But those are my responses to your comments, Maureen. If any of the members have additional questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Norm. Any questions or comments from the commission?
I guess Wade Thomas here. One question I have is the house itself, is it going to be sprinkler? Is there fire protection system in the house? Is that why the main's being installed with a service, large service, or no?
I don't know the answer to that. I know there's going to be extensive landscaping, and there's going to be a sprinkler system for the landscaping and lawn. But I don't know if there's a sprinkler system in the house.
Because I know some towns require it if they're more than X amount of feet from the main road, they have to have fire protection. I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know the answer to that.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I have my hand up, but
I'm sorry.
no problem. Is now a good time to ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, sure. All right. Hello, sir. Dave Lurch here. So I'm traveling down the road here, the driveway toward the house, and I reach a point where we cross the wetland. Around wetland markers 10B, 11B, 12B, 13B, which I see actually extends onto the neighbor's property. But with the driveway in place now, it seems that you're now cutting off that part of the wetland that's actually on Oscar Ronaldo Riveraz's property, 20 Short Road. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
Is there planned any type of culvert under the road to allow water to flush into that wetland that's over there, or not? I didn't see it on plans. I'm assuming not.
No, there is not. It's it's very flat. The area, and I think if you look at the photographs that Ian Cole provided in his impact report,
sure,
you can see that this is an existing path. It's very, very flat. which,
Oh, I walked it, by the way.
yeah. So
So,
there's not a real lot of evidence of actual flow in that area. You just got that little depression in the terrain where the soils demonstrate some hydric properties in that area. So there was, I mean, we could certainly evaluate it at the time of construction. I don't think the drive is going to be installed high enough to actually warrant the installation of a pipe unless we do something small like a little 4-inch PVC or something of that nature.
sure. And I'm not asking you to do that, honestly.
Okay.
But I just wanted to make that comment. I'm not sure how much square footage we're talking about of wetland from the marker. And by the way, I did walk the area, so I'm pretty familiar with the terrain as we head down the proposed driveway. So in those areas, how much, and it's probably in the plan here, but how much substrate under the driveway do you need in order to support it? It's going to be asphalt, concrete? What is it?
No,
It says paved driveway.
It'll be asphalt. It'll be asphalt. And so what'll happen is the organic layer will be removed in the areas where the wetlands are. It'll be replaced with a bank run gravel. Whatever the depth that is, it varies from spot to spot, but it'll be a bank run, and then there'll be 6 inches of a good processed gravel on top of that to provide a surface on which it can be paved.
Yeah. So you have a 12-foot wide driveway, and then imagine there's some slope at whatever angle outwards, right, to get to grade. Is there?
Yeah.
Are you raising the driveway some over normal grade?
Yeah, it'll be elevated slightly above normal grade, but I think one of the nice things about this, before I went out here and I was just looking at the plans,
Yeah.
I kind of assumed that this area would have to be elevated substantially, and we'd have to put some sort of a mechanism in place to limit the grading off to the sides. But if this driveway ends up, 8 to 10 inches above the existing grade, that's probably going to be about the limit of it.
Yeah. As far as flows, I look at this wetland. I saw the drain that town has under the road, and water from across the road flows, here from whatever sources. There must be a considerable amount of water that comes down through that area, I imagine, that infiltrates or whatever, partially at least, during a large storm event. So do you anticipate that this driveway is going to cause any more problems, as far as storage goes with water?
I don't believe so. I think Mr. Cole's report indicates that the functionality of this wetlands really won't be diminished substantially as a result of this. Because of the flatness of it, it does act as a recharge area where water kind of settles in all these little micro pools and pockets and so forth, and ultimately either evaporates or infiltrates down into the soil. It eventually makes its way to the stream where we're going to be putting in that cross culvert. And also on this particular drawing that's up right now, on the far right, you can see the area that says regulated freshwater inland wetlands. That's a small ponding area over there. So a lot of this runoff from this particular wetland makes its way there. There's a cross culvert underneath where we were going to be putting that pea-stone driveway. There's a small culvert there that ultimately discharges to those wetlands at that point.
Oh, yeah. So I wanted to talk with you about that. So currently there is a pipe that runs under a drain that runs under a culvert, or that runs under the easement, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and that's what size currently?
I believe
by
it's 15-inch.
15. So is that going to be replaced, or
No.
is
No,
okay?
we're not
So what
touching
what
that
you're
one.
showing on the drawing here is a 15-inch. RCP stands for
Reinforced concrete pipe.
reinforced concrete pipe. Okay, so the 15-inch reinforced concrete pipe, you feel that's adequate, given the amount of reduction of wetlands that you're going to be doing with the driveway, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay. So in your professional opinion, you believe that you don't have to make it larger or do anything with that. It's fine.
No, I don't see the need for it.
Okay. It's in good shape as far as, I mean, how long it's been in there. But as far as you know, it's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it's in better shape than the 24-inch one, yes.
It is. Okay, great. Was there some discussion about, let's see, there was some discussion about enhancing some new wetland area, wasn't there? Maybe not. No.
Well, there is a wetlands mitigation area. We are adjacent to the wetlands on sheet 2. We're providing 3,000 square feet of mitigation area.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take another look at that, but hey, thanks so much for answering those questions, but I might get back to you in a couple minutes, okay?
Not a problem.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? Norm, I have a question, and you may have answered this already. I'm looking at the report from E&T Cole dated 16 July, and on page 2, there's a statement: the existing easement access would be abandoned in place with controls to prevent continued usage. I think that statement has kind of been overcome by events, has it not?
Yes, it has. Yeah, that was early on. I think, as we discussed earlier, that was when that when that existing driveway that the applicant had an easement over, there was discussion about abandoning it, and I think that's kind of a leftover statement from that.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the commission? Dave Lurch, are you all set?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, we've heard the presentation. Commission members, what's your pleasure?
All right.
Wade Thomas, Maureen, are you happy with everything that's been presented to you? Have they addressed all of your comments?
Yes, my comments have been addressed. Some of the issues having to do with the alternatives, I think, have been very well explained tonight in the record. And I got the information I was waiting for the mitigation plan. The mitigation plantings are proposed to be inspected seasonally for the first year of installation, and a report submitted to the town wetlands officer. And the proposal is that plants shall be replaced to maintain a survival rate of a minimum 70%.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, I don't have any. Mr. Chairman, I tell you honestly, I'm pretty well pleased, I guess, with the response by the applicant as far as answering staff's questions. And I'd be interested in going to a draft permit on this project. I'm not sure right now of all the requirements that that we might want to have in place, but I think they're pretty much handled, you know, in staff comments and with what staff has presented to us that we could that I would make a motion that we go to draft with the comments as described by staff.
I'll second that.
Thank you. The motion is made and seconded to go to draft. Any additional discussion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Norm.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, Steve 20-15, 140 Waterford Parkway South. Concrete products manufacturing and outdoor storage. Fabcon precast applicant. Mathon Fund 1 LLC owner. Oriro agent. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yep, Seamus is there. Unmute him.
Sorry, can you guys hear me? All right, good evening, Commission. My name is Seamus Moran. I am a PE in Connecticut, and I do work for Lorero. I'm impressed that you got that right. Usually we have to correct people. I usually say Lorero like sombrero is our expression, so I'm impressed. Thank you for hosting us tonight, and hope everyone is well and adjusting to these meetings. If you can't hear me, this is my first meeting, virtual meeting. Can't hear me, interrupt me, wave your hands, do whatever, no hard feelings. So I just want to make sure everybody can hear me, and if you can't, let me know. So I am here representing the applicant, Fabcon Precast. I'm joined by Clint Brown, who's also with Lorero Engineering, and Jeff Prince, who is with Dacon Corporation. So those two are with me as well. And our project is located at 140 Waterford Parkway South. It's directly south of I-95, right next to the Coca-Cola facility. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it. We're in the IP1 General Industrial Park Zone. We are here for an inland wetlands application, of course, for work within the 100-foot upland review area. We've also submitted an application to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a special permit and a site plan application. So with that, again, this is 140 Waterford Parkway South. You might be familiar with the site. It used to be the Waterford Airport, which is an operation from 1945, 1987. After that, a commercial subdivision, 25-lot commercial subdivision was approved in the early 1990s, and a portion of that infrastructure was installed, the roadways, stormwater, stormwater management improvements, some drainage structures and utilities. Actually, so Maureen, I'm not sure if you have the presentation.
Yep, we're load. Give us a sec, James. We're gonna load up your PowerPoint.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
At the top. Okay. Do you want me to just toggle it as you go down?
So I'm on slide 2, and I can kind of explain how this is formatted so everybody can follow me here.
Here we go.
Or page 2 of the PDF, whatever you want to call it.
Are we good? Are we right?
I don't believe so. Slide 2 should be text, almost in a PowerPoint format slide. Is this the plan set? I mean, maybe my screen isn't loading. I'm looking at the cover of the plan set right now.
No,
Hold on.
That's what I see, Maureen.
okay, we're working on it. You gotta get rid of that one. Hey, there we go.
There we are.
Okay, back up.
Perfect. So as I mentioned, this is the Waterford Airport, a former site of Waterford Airport. So the existing, actually, Maureen, you can move to slide 3 now. Just wanted to make sure we were all caught up. So the next slide, slide 3 here is existing conditions. The entire parcel is a little over 188 acres. You'll see on the site plans that the Jordan Brook bisects the property, kind of right down the middle. The eastern half, which is where Waterford Airport was, which is where our site is approximately 97 acres. So the area east of Jordan Brook on our site is about 97 acres. And like I said, Jordan Brook is on the west of our development, and Nevins Brook is to the east of our development. There are wetlands associated with Jordan Brook and Nevins Brook on each side of the development. There's currently a few dilapidated buildings that are remaining from the airport, which went defunct in 1987. And the 25 lot commercial subdivision that was approved in the early 1990s, phase 1 of 7 of that development was constructed, and part of that included the roadway, which was constructed. So if anybody's been to the site, there's a curb cut, a pretty nice entrance to Waterford Parkway South, and that was constructed as part of that subdivision approval. Next slide, please, Maureen. Perfect. As well, so that's some of the structures. Utilities, there are several utilities there. There's a 20-inch water transmission main that goes from Waterford Parkway South, bisects through the property southeast, and connects out to the development southeast of our site. There's also a 12-inch water main that taps into that 20-inch transmission main that serves the site currently. There's an 18-inch sanitary sewer main on the west side of development, which is the east side of Jordan Brook. And then there's high voltage electric power that terminates on essentially at the northwest corner of the facility. Northwest corner of the site. And then it actually enters the site in 2 locations. It continues east down Waterford Parkway South, just east of the current driveway, and then runs south onto the property. And there's also one that runs from the end of that high voltage line over the Coca-Cola property onto our property, and then runs east over Jordan Brook. And there's also a gas terminal right at the northwest corner of the property in Waterford Parkway South. Next slide, please, Maureen. So what this slide here is this is the overall existing conditions survey. This is all 188 acres. It gives you a feel for the entire parcel. You can see from here, Jordan Brook runs down the middle of that. East of Jordan Brook is our development, like I mentioned. Nevins Brook is on the very east side of the site. So this kind of gives an overall, and actually we'll focus in. The next slide is a 120 scale. It's an overall. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. This shows the eastern half of the development, the existing conditions. You can see the access road that's there, Waterford Parkway South, Jordan Brook, the wetlands associated with Jordan Brook, and Nevins Brook. And I've also highlighted the 100-foot upland review areas in magenta and the edge of the wetlands in green. So it's obviously it would be very tough to see these lines if they weren't highlighted. So hopefully that helps moving forward throughout the plan set. So I think we're all set. If you want to continue, Maureen, please. All right, now for the fun stuff, proposed conditions. So on our 97 acre half of our development, we're actually proposing to improve approximately 41 acres of that. We're proposing to remove all the old buildings, dilapidated buildings within this development area, construct a new 123,000 square foot building. That's the footprint. It's approximately 130,000 square foot gross floor area, and a storage yard that's 18.3 acres to the south of the building. Around the building, we are proposing a paved access road for access to the building, and also a 60-car parking lot, complete with 3 handicap spaces. That's directly adjacent to the office use of the facility. So if you could continue, please, Maureen. Back one, please. So this is, as I was describing, just a little easier if I describe it and then I show it to you. So this shows the 123,000 square foot footprint building on there, the access roads, the storage area to the south of the building with a circular access drive around it. Shows the extent of your storage area, shows your potential, or shows your stormwater management areas on here, and an overall plan. As we get further into the plan set, I have some blow-ups that you can actually read at a larger scale. So this overall scale kind of shows concepts and overall layouts. These are at 120 scale. Further in the plan set, I've included some 40 scale sheets that you can see everything in more detail. So now if you want to continue on, please, Maureen. Okay, so we're proposing some lighting and landscaping throughout the facility. We're proposing 25-foot poles along the access drives and in the parking areas. We're also proposing some landscaping, pretty significant landscaping. Along the southern property line, 40 feet is required where you're abutting an industrial use of what's a residential development. We're actually providing a 100-foot landscape buffer along the southern property line where 40 is required, which is very significant and a nice improvement. We're also adding a planting buffer along Waterford Parkway South, and we're also enhancing the riparian buffers along the east side of Jordan Brook and also the west side of Nevins Brook. So along the entire western side of the development, we'll put some year-round cover, some trees, and along the east side, we're enhancing it in certain specific locations where it's best suited. Lastly, for landscaping, we're proposing some plantings around all of the basins to kind of create a little microclimate for the basins to keep the water from any water that sits there. Hopefully it's not much, but keep it in a little microclimate so it doesn't get too hot. So if you want to continue, please, Maureen. If you can go back one.
Oh, for Pete's sakes.
So this is just the lighting and landscaping plan. If you can see it on the overall, this is just, you're not going to see much on this plan based on the scale, but it kind of shows where all the trees are, all the buffers are, all the landscaping improvements. There's some light fixtures on here. It's obviously much easier to see in the plan set where there's 40 scale sheets, but I didn't want to send Maureen 110 sheets on this PDF. So this is the overall, just to give you a general feel for the landscaping on the facility. But if you could please move on, Maureen, that'd be great. Thank you. Proposed conditions, the last one here is the stormwater management improvements. This is in the Jordan Brook watershed, which is obviously our protected water course in Waterford. So we have some pretty significant stormwater management improvements that we're proposing. So we use the Town of Waterford stormwater management standards, which are found in the zoning regulations, and also the Jordan Brook watershed management plan in order to develop kind of our design here. We also, so for our design, we use the 2004 stormwater quality manual and the low impact development appendix to the Connecticut stormwater quality manual. So those are our reference documents and how we formulated our design plan of attack here. So the basis of design using those documents is we wanted to reduce the peak rates and the volumes for the 2 through the 100-year storm events. We want to infiltrate the 10-year storm event, which is actually, the purpose of that is to maintain groundwater base flows in accordance with the Jordan Brook watershed management plan. That actually exceeds the Town of Waterford stormwater management standards for water quality standards, which Town of Waterford requires the 1 year, 24-hour storm to infiltrate. If you do that, you meet the water quality standards. Jordan Brook watershed, requires a little bit more. So that's what we did, is the 10-year storm is infiltrated. So if you continue with best management practices here, some of the improvements are deep sump catch basins. We have 4-foot catch basins, 4-foot sumps in all catch basins within the storage yard area, and also at all terminal catch basins before basins. We have hydrodynamic separators proposed before all the before 3 of the basins, where the contributing watershed includes a storage yard. We actually have some sediment forebays. There's both inline and offline forebays. So the inline forebays are what you're accustomed to seeing in infiltration basins, where there's a specific section of the basin designated for sediment treatment. It's a certain percentage of the water quality volume. We have that. We actually see that in the inline forebays. We've also created what we're calling offline forebays, which are in the storage yard. And it's a pre-treatment to the pre-treatment. So we're collecting all the stormwater within the storage yard, collecting it in a glorified sediment trap with a riser that will allow sediment in the storage yard to settle out before it goes to the hydrodynamic separator, before it gets to the inline sediment forebay. So there's one of the things that Maureen mentioned was pre-treatment is what we want to focus on pre-treatment. So I think we've done that here, and I hope you agree. And lastly, the main treatment practices, we proposed 5 infiltration basins throughout the site, and also 4 infiltration chambers, beds of infiltration chambers, StormTech SC 740 units throughout the site. Lastly, the last BMP was that we maintain the overall drainage patterns as best as possible. So if you want to move to the next slide, please, Maureen.
Oh, it doesn't work.
So this is the overall plan, and I'll give you a feel for it, and then I've included, for this specific section, I've included the 40 scale sheets so we can see some more detail in here. So the overall plan, so if we start at the building, in the northwest corner of the building is stormwater management area A, which includes A1 and A2. To the northeast of the building, there are 2 stormwater management areas, B1 and B2. To the southeast of the building, there is E1, E2, and E3, which are all stormwater management improvements. To the southwest of the building is stormwater management D. And then in the very southwest corner of the storage yard, there's a big basin E1. I'm sorry, that one's F that you're circling, Maureen. So that's basin F, and then on the east side, southeast side is stormwater management basin E. So that's kind of a global look at it. Now, if we go to the next slide, it'll be the upper left-hand corner of the development, which this shows A1, which is the northwest area of the building where there's some StormTech units, a large bed of StormTech units. This is for a portion of the asphalt and the runoff generated from the building. Basin A2 is a small infiltration basin, which just captures some of that runoff from that overrun parking area. I'm sorry, from that pavement area north of the building. On the east side of the building, there's a small bed of StormTech units just east of the building. That is B1. That is used to infiltrate the runoff from the roof. B2 is the infiltration basin. That's to infiltrate and treat the runoff from the pavement areas and also the overflow from B1. So that this sheet here shows A1, A2, B1, and B2. Also shows your green line for your wetlands, your magenta line for your 100-foot review areas, so you can see where our development is in relation to those. Next slide, please, Maureen. So this is directly south of that. The match line north here matches the match line in the south in the last sheet. So you can see this is the building. Southeast of the building, we have C1, which is another small bed of StormTech units used to infiltrate the roof runoff. C2 is a large basin, which is the overflow from C1 and also the pavement areas. And C2 actually discharges to an existing basin that was constructed as part of the 1990 subdivision approval. We're just discharging to that basin, not for storage reasons, but because there's already a discharge pipe in there. So we're discharging to that basin so we can keep the same outlet location. That's correct. Thank you, Maureen. So we can keep the same outlet location to the wetlands. So we're not disturbing we're not adding a new outfall to the wetlands. On this sheet, you can also see within the storage yard, on the north side of the storage yard, there is that, what I'm calling the offline sediment forebay. That's shown on this sheet as well. The next sheet is actually, so if you go to the next sheet, it'll be the right side, yep, the east side of that. So the match line on the the match line on the left side matches the match line on the right side from the last sheet. So this is not much on here, but we had to show it. It shows, you know, our clearing limits. It shows our inland wetlands area and our 100-foot review. So actually, you can skip to the next sheet, please, Maureen. This sheet here is the bottom left corner of the development. You can see the two offline sediment forebays. The basin that you see there is basin F. That treats and infiltrates the runoff from the southwestern half of the storage yard. You can also see again edge of the wetlands and the 100-foot review area. We're outside that. And lastly is the last sheet. Thank you, Maureen. This is basin E, which again, so this is basin E1 is the proposed one that you can see. This is treating the runoff from the southeast portion of the storage yard. We're discharging E1, basin E1 into the existing basin that was constructed in 1990. Again, for the same reasons, there's an outlet discharge pipe from that existing basin adjacent to the wetlands. So we're going to keep that same outfall location. So that's pretty much the stormwater. I'm sorry, I ran through it fairly quickly. I guess the moral of the story is we're trying to do all we can for the stormwater improvements. So if you want to continue to the next slide, please, Maureen. So we've had several surveys done. We've had a wetlands functions and values assessment done. So Jim Cowan did the functions and values assessment. He found, I guess the summary of the findings is that his report was in there. There's two vernal pools, two cryptic vernal pools were observed. Vernal pool 1 was east of the development, which was the west side of Evans Brook between wetland flags 45X and 47X. He noted that there was no actual use this year, but there's a 7-year period where there could actually be some growth. So he said it's with low to marginal productivity. Vernal pool 2 is west of Jordan Brook, so it's not even on the same side of the brook, and that was between wetland locations or wetland flags 261 to 263. Just two blurbs from his letter was there is no direct wetland impact associated with the proposed development, and most of these indirect impacts have been mitigated by proper design, which includes avoidance of wetlands and uplands immediately adjacent to wetlands. So those are just of the 20-page report. Those are the 2 sentences I figured I'd show you guys rather than 20 pages. So if you go to the next, thank you. We had, as I mentioned, we had some ecological surveys done. Another one was a botanical survey. So these all stemmed from a preliminary screening to the NDDB. They came back with a couple species that we should investigate of both plants and vegetation. I'm sorry, plants and vegetation, of vegetation and of animal life. So one was a botanical survey done by Jim Cowan. Neither of those were observed. There was a breeding bird survey done by Eric Davison, and 2 birds were noted in the preliminary screening, and neither of those were observed. And the turtle and snake survey was done by Dennis Quinn, and he observed several turtles. And actually, we worked with him to develop the plan so we can protect the turtles, protect the snake that he found. So actually, if you go to the next slide, please. So based on the turtle survey, we actually eliminated the northwest corner of the storage yard. We also shifted the western edge of the storage yard east about 60 feet. We also, these improvements improved the habitat connectivity in Wood Turtle Zone 3, which is a 300-foot buffer. It eliminated the disturbance to the primary nesting site and removed, the areas removed will serve as early, late habitat, successional habitat in the eastern box turtle and wood turtle. So we worked very closely with him, Dennis, to develop this. He's happy with it. We submitted this we submitted an NDDB application on July 28th, and we did hear back on Monday. And the letter essentially said they agree with the findings, which there were no birds of interest, there were no botanical vegetation, and they agree with the preventative maintenance or preventative improvements we implemented for the turtle survey. So we did hear back from them. So all this is shown, this sheet just shows in that northwest corner, you see there's a little section that we cut out of the storage yard that previously went straight up. We cut that off, and that western edge was also moved in 60 feet. Right there, thank you. Okay, I think that's it for this sheet. We've also worked very closely with Maureen. She's always helpful. So one of the comments we received about a month ago was to shift the building so we could provide at least 100 feet between the edge of the wetlands. Between the edge of the wetlands along Jordan Brook and to any improvement. So the building is now 125 feet. The parking is over 100 feet away. So we did shift that. We added some catch basins with 4-foot sumps. We added the offline sediment forebays, the hydrodynamic separators, and what you see on your vegetated filter strip was, we previously had a vegetated filter strip, and that was replaced with a stone swale and underdrain. So those were all discussions that we've had in the last month that changed our plan here. So that's all the sheet is. If you want to continue moving forward to the next slide, please. So all of this kind of boils down to our development. All this does is show, these next 2 slides are just kind of a synopsis of our activity within the 100-foot upland review area. So along the Jordan Brook wetlands, we're proposing 0.15 acres of activity within the 100-foot upland review area. The nearest activity, we're proposing some clearing within 73 feet and grading within 80 feet. That's in the location of wetland flag 11. To the Nevins Brook wetlands, we're proposing approximately 0.23 acres of activity within the 100-foot upland review area. Again, nearest activity is about 40 feet to the clearing, 77 to the grading. And in the southeast corner of the building, there's 34 feet to the clearing and was that 86 feet to the grading? And last slide, please, Maureen. And lastly, there's the discharges to the Jordan Brook and Nevins Brook. As I mentioned, we're maintaining 2 of the outfalls that are currently there. The other 5 outfalls are all outside the 100-foot upland review area. So there's some text in there. You can read it if you want to. It's all in the plans, but it's kind of boiled down right here for you. So with that, obviously, this is the first time you've heard a presentation. I know it was received a couple weeks ago. So if there's any questions, I'm certainly happy to take them. If you have any questions of FabCon, the applicant, I'm sure Jeff Prince, who's here, was happy to answer any of those questions.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Any questions from the commission members?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, David?
Okay, thank you. Hello, Mr. Moran. Dave
Hello,
Lewis
Howard.
here. I'm doing fine, thank you. Thanks for asking. So I see we're going to do precast concrete products, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So one of the questions I have with this manufacturing type of a facility is, what do you expect as far as any type of air emissions, particulates, whatever that might be released from whatever it is that you do? I don't, maybe there isn't any, but I've got to ask this question because I just want to try to get a feel for what may end up in the immediate area or down into the brooks.
Of course, and I think Jeff, if you want to jump in here, Jeff and his team have been designing the building, and it's a very sophisticated building, and I think he could probably talk about that a little bit more.
Great, thanks.
The largest air emissions will be by heating equipment and fuel, but there won't be any air emissions of dust or concrete products. We may, in fact, be able to have an exemption with the air quality permitting with this particular site if it wasn't for the use of an emergency generator. And we believe that we will probably be exempt from running those calculations now. So we don't expect there to be any emissions from the building of any concern related to dust, odor, noxious fumes, or any of that, but there will be obviously significant fuel consumption.
Okay. Well, I certainly want to commend you on the outstanding job that you did in preparation for any questions we might have regarding plants or terrapins, any other type, and avian species, that could be affected. I greatly appreciate seeing this up front and commend you for that.
Thank you.
I have a question. Any chemicals used in your process for what you're making?
Yes, there is chemicals used in the process because there are concrete additives and other materials which are cured before the product is even brought to the outdoors. So the cured product does not release any chemicals to the yard or to the environment.
Mr.